I remember like, product sourcing used to be easier because, you could just pick any product from China, especially during or before COVID.
Will steer away from it. Like, for example, we have an anxiety supplement, but we cannot mention anything about anxiety in the listing, on the
Yeah.
packaging. You can't mention anything about that. Amazon will
Right. So do you have a routine like you wake up at 4 a.m. or something?
no, I don't.
Most of the billionaires.
Start with an idea, then you have to pick them. Like, who is your market? Like, who are you selling to? What is the brand's like overview, like their mission statement, stuff like that. Like,
Maintaining the work-life balance. How do you do that? Especially on your thing when you are doing online arbitrage, you are teaching people as well, you are, doing wholesale,
one
you
is
are
like
also.
listing all of your products. Like,
Yep.
imagine manually listing them all one by one, where you could just have a virtual assistant list them for you, get them all up on your
Yep.
storefront.
Hi Joe, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So Joe, can you please introduce yourself for the audience?
Yeah, so my name is Joe Parpheniuk. I am an Amazon seller, so I started selling on Amazon about 3 years ago, doing online arbitrage, and I do a little bit of wholesale as well. How I got into Amazon was basically I found this guy on Instagram. He was talking about flipping books on eBay, selling them over to Amazon. So like you could buy them on eBay, sell them on Amazon. So that's primarily how I got started, and that's how I made my first $10,000 in profit, just flipping books, going to Goodwills, hustling, stuff like that while I was in grad school for accounting. So I was studying to be a CPA. And then Amazon started to really click and things started to really make sense. So I actually ended up dropping out of grad school, going full time with Amazon. I've been full time with FBA for about 2.5 years now. So it's been an awesome journey, and I've started to branch into private label now. I'm building my supplement brand, Ultra Life Supplements, should be launching on TikTok Shop and Amazon in the next 2 months or so. So I'm really excited about that. Something I'm working on.
That's pretty awesome. So I'm gonna start with a very different question now, and that is like you have seen in last 8 months that TikTok Shop has swept the market. So
Mhm.
how was that decision for you? Like I know you made a whole decision on I'm gonna launch this on Amazon, and all of a sudden you saw that TikTok is such a big deal, and TikTok Shop is doing such great numbers. And so
Mhm.
how was that shift for you, and how are you adjusting that for your business? Because it's yeah.
Yeah. So TikTok Shop, I mean, how I view it is that I'm not necessarily doing the online arbitrage and wholesale stuff on TikTok Shop, but
Yeah.
full full plan is to go full force with the private label brand on TikTok Shop because it's another platform that you can sell the product on. And also, so my idea is to grow this brand with creators, and TikTok is the perfect place to do that.
Yeah,
So I'm going to start and get a bunch of different creators, create my own community for that, and then start to scale that brand through creators, get more sales on TikTok, and then ultimately drive that traffic to Amazon. So that's really how I see TikTok. It's just another platform to sell on it, and it's a really cool social aspect that Amazon hasn't fully
yeah,
mastered yet. So it really just I think that's the future of e-commerce. It's more of a social
yeah.
platform with merged with e-commerce.
Yeah, and you saw that news as well. I think you have also seen that news that Amazon has allowed integrated with the TikTok shop
Mhm.
in some way that So yeah, that is going to be a game changer as well. So yeah, you are right that what the future of e-commerce is being integrated with the social aspect of life and stuff like that. We have seen this in works
Yeah, that
already.
news is huge on the Amazon front, how they're going to be able to bring traffic to Amazon
Yeah.
directly. So that's going to be game changing, and a lot of people are going to make a lot of money off of that. So I'm excited to integrate that as well.
Yep. So I'm gonna go with the question that on a little bit on the online arbitrage and wholesale business side is that
Mhm.
when you are sourcing the product, obviously you have a lot of competition in the market as well. There are a lot of people who are doing wholesale, who are doing online arbitrage as well. So while doing that, how do you manage the competition while looking for the product that's a high demand? Because whenever there is a high demand product, the competition is fierce and fierce. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely finding ways that are not necessarily beginner friendly, I would say, almost in a sense. Um, you got to avoid the common things like people say to go to Walmart, go to Target, and then flip the products on Amazon. If you're going where everyone else is going, then it's going to naturally get saturated. So ultimately, the idea is to like find your own little niche and plant your flag there. Maybe it's a few different niches. Like for me, we have like three different niches we sell in. Um, but plant your flag there and then learn the patterns of all the websites and all the suppliers and how they run sales and how to get them profitably. Because ultimately, if you're in a smaller subset of online arbitrage, it's less likely it's going to get saturated when you're walking into Walmart or Target. It's just going to have too many eyeballs. So look for the places where other people aren't is really the nutshell answer there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense as well. So, while we talk about, online arbitrage or wholesale business, one thing that I personally feel a bit lack of is that, you are unable to build some sort of brand value there, or, when you are, so how do you handle that, or how do you bring a brand value, or, make a whole brand while you are doing wholesale or, online arbitrage? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's very
so
beginner question, but yeah, I just
it's
wanted to,
very difficult to do that. I don't really do too much brand direct wholesale, but that would be the angle if you're looking to bring a brand value and you know a lot of stuff about like PPC,
yeah,
optimizing a listing and stuff like that. If you know all of that stuff, maybe that's your background, then it would make sense to pitch brands on brand direct and get a brand direct wholesale account and then be able to sell the products on Amazon. But ultimately, if you're just buying from a distributor or you're buying from a retail website, it's very difficult to provide value to the brand because they probably don't even really know that
yeah,
you're selling it. That's ultimately why I wanted to start private label is to be able to learn all that type of stuff, and then maybe eventually get more heavily into brand direct wholesale, or just keep going with private label because that's a more long term play in my
yeah.
opinion. So is brand direct wholesale. So you can kind of go either way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, Joe, while you are, especially from your background, you have done online arbitrage and you have also done the Amazon wholesale as well. While you are working on that, how do you bring a private label brand that can be scaled to 8 figures or 9 figures? Because on Amazon, that's very easy if you, look at the big picture thing. There are a lot of keywords and there are a lot of products that are doing 8 figures, 9 figures. So how do you get into that mindset, that particular mindset that yes, my brand can do that, and for that I'll do
Uh-huh.
X, Y, Z to get there?
Yeah, that is something that is also it's partially internal. Like you have to believe it, I think,
Yeah,
because a lot of people don't truly believe that. But I personally, I believe that if I do everything I need to do, that brand will ultimately be worth 8, 9 figures. Let's say
yeah,
it might not happen right away. It might take 5, 10, 15 years to hit 100 million, but like I truly believe that's possible. So that's definitely part of it. But I think there's the other side of the equation. There's the part that you need to have the data. You need to understand the data. And with private label, you're doing research. So it's very
yeah,
similar to like doing product research for for online arbitrage and wholesale. It's just the only difference is you're looking for trends. You're looking for things
yeah,
that are like, for example, helium 10 has a bunch of keywords like you were mentioning before. So you're looking for keywords that have not as much competition but have a lot of search volume. So like you need to fill the gap there and then you can ultimately capture the market share of that. So our product is like a mood and stress support supplement. So we noticed that a lot of
uh-huh,
the keywords in that had a lot of search volume, not as much competition yet. And similar to the stuff like ashwagandha, but it's
yep,
different ingredients that are more up and coming that are mixed together. So that's really how we went undercovered the research. So we know the demand's there for that kind of product. We just have to make sure that we market it correctly and get that market share ultimately. So it is definitely a mix of internal belief and
yeah,
calculated skills and putting in that time and effort.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And while we are on the subject, I want to ask, like, for the supplement, products, it's very difficult to, understand it. And how did you get started? Did your background help you in that, or how did you? Because that's a the way I believe it, it's a very different dimension altogether. The supplements category, it's a different dimension altogether.
Yeah.
And then especially with the Amazon, getting more strict, you have a lot of paperwork that you need to additional paperwork that you need to do. So how did you get past that, and how was that process for you?
It's not necessarily the paperwork, but they do require one thing. So they require that you test the ingredients. So that's like the
Yep.
next thing. Once we have the
Yeah.
samples ready, we do have to get the ingredients tested, but that shouldn't be an issue. Um,
Yep.
but really, it's a matter of knowing the little small things that you need to do, and
Yep.
that's why I feel like a lot of beginners will steer away from it. Like, for example, we have an anxiety supplement, but we cannot mention anything about anxiety in the listing on the
Yeah.
packaging. You can't mention anything about that. Amazon will pull that listing down right away.
Yeah.
So there's little things you have to make sure you have an FDA disclosure on the packaging. Having a network and having people that have done it slightly ahead of me
Yep.
has been super super helpful. I have one of my podcast partners; he's building a brand as well, so it's been helpful to see his journey and see what he's doing and be able to know, okay, I need to do something like that on my packaging to make sure I'm compliant with Amazon. So it's a bunch of little
Yep.
things that you do have to follow. So that's the
Yep.
biggest thing. But I do have some knowledge in it as well because what I do primarily with arbitrage is one of our niches is supplements. So that's kind of how
Oh,
the
nice.
inspiration came in as well. So I've seen these supplement brands doing really well, and I see what they're doing. So the
Yep.
idea is to kind of make our own version of that.
That's pretty awesome as well. So I do have one, very general question, and that is, you were mentioning that you started the university and then, you moved to Amazon, and you haven't looked back ever since. How has been, how helpful has Amazon been in changing your life, and how was that for you, and how's the university life? Do you miss it?
Oh, my, well, you're talking about my previous thing, my
Yeah.
accounting. I definitely don't miss it. um, I still have friends who are trying to get out of their current situation with
Yep.
their job because they ended up staying in their program and then went to get a 9 to 5, and they're like, oh, I'm unhappy. I want to test out this Amazon thing.
Yep.
So I feel like I made the right decision based on what they're doing. But yeah, so definitely don't really miss it. Amazon has
Yep.
totally changed my life because I've tried a bunch of different things. I tried um, wholesale real estate. I tried a
Yep.
t-shirt printing business, and none of them worked. And
Yeah.
maybe I just wasn't doing it correctly. I'm sure they all work. I'm sure you can make money with any one of those. Um, but I think Amazon was just so simple that everything just seemed to click because the market was already there. You didn't have to build a customer base. Like, you learned a lot of the initial like things you need to learn to run a business, and
Yep.
Amazon did the hardest part, bringing you the customer base.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's been extremely helpful, and it's really taught me so many different skills that I can bring into growing this supplement brand. So I'm definitely grateful for it, and it's definitely changed my life.
Awesome, awesome. So how was real estate for you? Because I remember I started real estate during, initial days of COVID, and
Mhm.
it was, I think, the correct term is nerve-breaking because, real estate is brutal. Like, actual brutal thing is real estate. So how was your experience there?
Yeah, I started in the same time, like right when COVID hit.
Yeah,
I started with the buddy. He's still doing it. He's making pretty good money.
yeah,
We just decided to go our separate ways, and I was like, I think Amazon is
yeah,
just a better fit for me. Um, but yeah, we honestly were just naive. We didn't really know what was going on. We didn't understand like COVID prices and all that type of stuff.
yeah,
So we actually like looking back, we definitely could have made money. Um, we were just thinking based on the prices before COVID because we didn't really know better. So we were running the numbers. We probably could have made like $20,000-$30,000 in that time frame if we just like sold it at the correct price. So it was a
yeah.
bad fumble, but we learned a lot, and it was a fun process.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. So, Joe, a bigger problem that everyone in Amazon or everyone who has gone, independent, from their 9 to 5 is facing is maintaining the work-life balance. How do you do that? Especially on your thing when you are doing online arbitrage, you are teaching people as well, you are, doing wholesale, you are also building your own PL brand as well. So how do you manage the work-life balance?
Yeah, it's one word. It's systems. You have to build the systems and then put the team behind it. So an example of a system is very simple. It could be like you have this task you want to do, like you're listing. This is a very basic thing that people would probably understand. One is like listing all of your products. Like
Yep,
imagine manually listing them all one by one, where you could just have a virtual assistant list them for you, get them all up on your
yep,
storefront. That saves probably like a half an hour to an hour a week, and it's just a bunch of those little tasks, like making a procedure on how to do them a little step by step, handing them to someone like a virtual assistant, having them run
yep,
all of that. And then, yeah, there's so many other ways. There's so many more complicated ways. Like I have my virtual assistant buying all of my inventory. That's an example of a
okay,
more complex system. Like she is
yep,
purchasing everything for us, so I don't have to do that, and that takes a lot of time up. So I'm trying to
yep,
reduce as much of the long tasks that don't really make me much money, and then handing them over to someone. Either it's a assistant or a software. Really, is like the ways you can build the systems. But that's helped me maintain a life balance. I just wanted to give a little sauce there. I know I went on a long-winded
yeah,
response, but yeah, that's given me the life balance. Like I only work on my Amazon business about 30 minutes to an hour
nice,
max a
nice,
day.
yeah, yeah.
At least the online arbitrage and wholesale side of it, and then everything else goes into the other things I'm doing. So yeah, it's helped a lot.
Nice, nice. So do you have a routine like you wake up at 4 a.m. or something?
No, I don't.
Most of the billionaires,
I think
whenever you listen to their talks, they're like, wake up at 4 a.m. I
yeah,
wake up at 4 a.m. I go back to sleep at 1 a.m. like 1 p.m. I cannot do that.
no. I think that's a lot of fluff that you see on the internet, like that you have to
Yeah,
wake up at 4 a.m., get 3 hours of sleep. Ultimately, like I wouldn't be able to function if I didn't have
yeah,
like at least 7 hours of sleep. So I have to
yeah,
get that sleep. But honestly, the way I see it is like it doesn't really matter what time you wake up as long as you get what you need to get done. I mean, I wake up relatively early, like 7 a.m.,
yeah,
but like not 4 a.m. So I try to
yeah.
just get everything done when I'm awake.
Yeah. So, Joe, there is another problem with that. Another upcoming problem for Amazon businesses is that FBA fees are, going up by a lot, and also you have seen that sourcing from China is also getting a little bit complicated as well, especially with the, Amazon introducing the storage fees and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
how do you see that, turning out in the future? Is FBA going to be as profitable in the future, or is it, you know, how do you
Uh,
see that?
I mean, I definitely think it's gotten. I wouldn't say it's gotten easier this year because they obviously are cracking down more. They're cracking down on fake goods, stuff like that. Like you can't be.
Yeah,
You got to make sure your supply chain is 100% authentic, or you're going to run into some issues because Amazon is
yep,
ultimately everything they're doing is cracking down on stuff that's fake. Like they know that their
yep,
marketplace needs to be 100% authentic, genuine products. So if you're selling anything from a sketchy supplier that excuse me, that might be fake, then you are in trouble. So yeah, so that's how I see it, is like that side of the question that you were saying. But ultimately, I mean, I've thought from like a profit margin perspective, it's gotten a lot higher this year, and I think that's partially because maybe people left the COVID era. They thought making money was so easy because it was COVID, and they just like it's not as easy as it was during COVID. So a lot of
yeah,
those people who were trying to make money then have left the platform, in my opinion.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I still see that this will, keep going, and I'm going to ride it till the wheels fall off. Um,
yeah,
but ultimately, eventually, the goal, I would say anyone's goal long term should be to either do one of two things: to start your own brand or to do brand direct wholesale. Like long term, I'm saying you don't have to do that right away because it does require a lot of capital, a lot of knowledge of the Amazon landscape. But in the
yep,
next like 3, 5 years, if you're just starting, I would say that should be your long-term goal,
That
because
makes
that's
a
going to
lot
give
of
you the
sense.
most protection and most longevity on Amazon, in my opinion.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. So, Joe, do you prefer doing only in the US or do you have other marketplaces as well?
No, I only sell in the U.S. Everything else is complicated. I don't want to deal with VAT,
Yeah,
taxes, and anything like
yeah.
that. I do have a store in Canada. I don't really sell in it, but yeah,
Yeah. There is, I think, NAP program as well that helps you, sell the
yeah. There's
same
NARF or
item.
something. I think it's called NARF. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Nice, nice, nice.
Mm.
Yeah, because also sell in Canada as well, and all the other,
There's
countries are
Mexico,
just
yeah.
way too complicated. And also the market is very small as well as compared to USA. Like USA is, the numbers in
Exactly.
there is very big.
There's also a lot of compliance things that happen with
Yeah,
Canada. So I've never really messed with it because like I've heard people get their Canadian accounts just deactivated, and I'm like, it's just not worth the headache. They're more strict from what I've
yeah,
seen.
yeah. And Joe, can you mention some other issues that Amazon sellers are facing? FBA fees is one thing, but other than that, what are the major issues that the sellers are
Oh, you
facing
said
right now?
FBA fees. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I thought you said FBA freezes. That's what I was thinking. You were talking about like people getting their
Yeah,
accounts shut down or
yeah,
something. That's where I went to that question. But yeah, I guess I mean it's mostly the issues on the landscape is the fees going up,
yeah,
which ultimately will be solved by people just naturally raising their prices. Eventually, they're going to
yeah,
have to. Otherwise, you're going to go out of business. So eventually, and it's not going to take that long. It's already kind of happening anyway. But naturally, prices will rise, and that will cover all of the fees. But you also just have to be smart and how to learn how to get around them, like placement fees. We don't really pay any
yeah,
placement fees on our shipments. There's little ways you can
yeah,
get around it, like box them, 2D workflow, stuff like that will
yeah,
help you navigate those. So those are like helpful softwares to do that with. Um, but yeah, I mean, as far as challenges go, I think that's really it. I would say is like Amazon getting more strict and then the fees going up.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I think another challenge we are facing is that as compared to COVID, there are less products now to sell.
Mhm. Less
Like
supply chain
it's
issues.
yeah, and also I remember like product sourcing used to be easier because you could just pick any product from China, especially during or before COVID days.
Mhm.
It was pretty easy. Like it was just pick that from directly from this supplier and send it there. And now you have to dig deeper into properly source it for PL. For wholesale, I'm not that much up to date on that, but I think for wholesale you have to go very authentic and you have to show some I think
You have to be
proper
buying
receipts.
from an authorized distributor
Yeah.
essentially, or at least a very well-known retail website. I mean, a lot of what we do is we buy from the brand for arbitrage, which
Uh-huh.
essentially there's no way they can't say that that's not authentic if
Yeah.
we're buying it from the brand. But yeah, ultimately just have like a trace back to the original root of your sources is important there. But yeah, what you're saying about private label, I think that happens in every single business model is like you have to adapt and you have to grow and overcome because
Yep.
you can't just like even with private label now, like we're building a whole brand. Like you can't just like
Yep.
buy something from Alibaba and like put your name
Yeah.
on it and expect it to like sell
Yeah.
without any branding or like good images. Like I
Yep.
think it's really actually helping the people who really do a good job and really know what they're doing to accelerate faster, honestly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because now authentic brand builders are getting more promotions and stuff like that, and their brand is doing well because they actually thought of the whole picture and they are not just there for the money. They were there for 5 or 10 years, and now since the other people who were there for just profit or just
Yeah,
for
like the wooden spoon, the quick buck thing that like the
yeah,
bagel slicer, like that's not gonna work anymore. You have to get
yeah,
innovative and build something that especially with Chinese people, like they can copy and
yeah,
counterfeit or copy your product and just put it way lower. It's a question for you. How do you deal with all that type of stuff with, because I'm not going to really have to deal with that since we're making a supplement.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
how do
yeah.
you deal with all the Chinese coming in and undercutting your prices and stuff like that?
So what happened with us was we started this product, and it's actually one of the top 10 travel items 3 years in the row. So the problem we faced was first year we got that, and a Chinese seller came in. He patented the design and he put a case on us. So it was originally our design, and then we got a strike, and we had to actually he did it for I think we were running four variations, and then he did it for three. So there was one variation left that was saved from it. And then what we did was he had actually not done the trademark. He just did, I think he only did the brand registry or something like that. Like he did very
Oh, you
lousy
didn't even have a
paperwork.
trademark. That's another thing. Make sure you get a
Yeah.
trademark. Make sure you protect
Yeah.
your brand
So we
like 100%.
And then, and the funny thing is, when we sent it to, US for the trademark stuff, they said, no, we have already seen that because this seller has been selling it for that much price. They actually, refused our trademark, and the imagery that they provided for the original patent, like they told us that this seller has been selling it, it was us. Like they refused us
Yeah,
for,
with you,
and we just
with you. That's funny.
So yeah, and then we submitted it back, and then now what we do is we let any new Chinese seller who comes in, we let him get like 100 reviews, and then we put a strike on it.
A seasoned. Oh yeah, you just 5 p.m. trademark. Yeah.
So we have been, doing evil things with people, but yeah, we
Yeah.
actually wait. We
There's
actually
crazy
properly
stuff
wait for him to get
going on.
get to 100 reviews, and then we do it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
there's this brand that I'm seeing that's like going extremely viral on TikTok. It's called Evil Goods. It's like a topical beef tallow thing for your skin. And there's
Oh,
so
nice.
many like Temu knockoffs coming on Amazon of this the exact same product. So honestly, you're not even safe if you make a topical or something like
Yeah.
that. But it's funny to see. I mean, they're not getting any traction. He's getting all the sales. So just yeah, you
Yeah.
got to be smart and put strikes on those people. Make sure you're using your trademark.
So, Joe, I do have one question, and that is since you are heavily involved in a private label as well, uh, because the way I see it, it's not just the Amazon business. Because once you make a private label, like you are not just going to sell it on Amazon, it's
Mm-hmm.
your brand, your thing. You can sell it even
So
on the shelf of the store. Yeah. So, how do you teach that to the newcomers? The whole strategy, because creating a new brand or a new product, it's not just it's actually a rocket science, that's I would say, because you have to get into the mind of consumer. The person who is going to use it is going to use it for that purpose, and that the whole theory goes behind it. So how do you what do you suggest, like how do you start teaching people or getting people into that mindset, like because that's a whole yeah.
Yeah, I think if you're already selling on Amazon, it's definitely you have a leg up, a big leg up over people. But
Yep.
and since like how you get started, obviously we talked about helium. You have to pick
Yes.
a topic or like a niche, like a keyword. It could be an ingredient or something like that that's like really going viral or is getting a lot of traction on Amazon. You have to start there, start with an idea, then you have to pick them like who is your market, like who are you selling to, what is the brand's like overview, like their mission statement, stuff like that. Like you have to get a clear, concise idea on like who you're marketing this product to for sure. Cause that's something we're spoiled as with like online arbitrage and wholesale. We don't have to
Yeah.
do much marketing. We don't have to run any ads. So we have to
Yeah.
learn that other side of the coin. So once you have that clear idea on what you want, then you can start working on the packaging, make the packaging match what you're trying to portray.
Yeah.
We have like a very like so our colors are blue and green, which is like colors of like health and wellness. So we're trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
portray color scheme, um, just all over the packaging and all that type of stuff. Trying to portray like a very clean, natural, all natural product that's better than the competition on what they're using and stuff like that. So it's all portrayed in the packaging. After you've gotten the packaging idea, roughly at least, that, or you can do this at the same time, but then you're going to look for a
Yeah.
manufacturer. That's a
Yeah.
process that you should definitely be more thorough on. Honestly, I think we could have been a little bit more thorough there.
Yeah.
We went with the first manufacturer recommended by the mentorship we took, and it turned out to be okay. It wasn't the best experience. Then, out of luck, we did find another one out of just a connection we met. So, power of networking there, a connection we met
Yeah.
through an ASD, like a wholesale trade show. He hooked us
Nice.
up with
Nice. Nice.
this new manufacturer who's local to us in Arizona. So I can record
Oh.
content there. I can go see the facility. It
Yeah.
just made a lot more sense. And the pricing was better. The product looks better. So
That's awesome.
definitely be more thorough. Maybe you look at 2 to 3 manufacturers, pick one, and then you got to get
Yeah.
samples, test the product, make sure it tastes good. It's a lot more of a lengthy process
Yeah.
than starting an account and selling like Nike,
Yeah.
to really set it all up. So yeah, and then once you're there, then you're doing the back end stuff, building the listings,
Yeah.
getting everything set up for launch, and again getting creators eventually to promote the product, launch
Yeah.
on TikTok Shop, Amazon, Walmart, and Shopify. So like you said, there are other ways to sell the product.
Yeah.
You can sell it on any platform you want. Those are the 4 that we're going to be selling it on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a whole process, but it's really fun and exciting to
Yeah.
do.
So in private label, setting up listing and advertising is the easiest part because you have made the product already
Yeah,
because
the
it's your
hardest part is
product.
the launch. Is like the not the launch, but the building of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
putting it all
Yeah. Building
together.
on. Yeah.
Putting it all together. The facing of the brand, the
Yeah.
packaging, a million different
Yeah.
edits of the packaging. Like
Yeah.
we would send it to the designer, like we want this done, we want
Yeah.
this done, this done. It's a very like tedious process, but it's actually
Yeah.
very fun in my opinion, honestly.
Yeah.
But the most fun with the packaging.
Yeah, we are actually doing a redo of our packaging as well. So, because we went with we actually thought of redoing our brand story and then, coming down from it. So we are actually redoing all of the things, listing our packaging and, even we did redid our website and redid our whole store. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
a fun process, but it takes a lot of time. Like
it's a
the amount
lot,
of time
and
that we,
yeah, there's so much things that can just happen that you have to figure out.
yeah,
Like for example, we were gonna do like a long neck bottle, like a long tall one,
yeah,
and we
yeah.
found out that they don't make that like product or
Oh,
that size for like that would fit our 60 count
yeah,
dummy. So we had to
yeah, yeah,
redo everything.
yeah,
Like this is like the new one. I don't know if you can see it, but like now it's like a
yeah,
jar. Now it's like
yeah,
a
yeah.
jar. So we had to redesign everything, change
Everything,
all
yeah,
the photos. So it's like a whole
yeah,
massive revamp that just had to happen
yeah,
before we could actually get it launched. So things are going to happen, but it's still a fun process, and it's really
yeah,
cool to build something from scratch.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Joe, thank you so much for sharing your brand story with us. It was really really fun podcast. Do you have any closing remarks?
No, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. And yeah,
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. It was really fun talking to you, and especially the whole process. That's a really fun and that's a very eye-opening as well. Because you thought that you think PL is very easy, but actually the hardest thing is launching a PL. Wholesale seems easy after you have done the PL. You are like, okay,
yeah. No, yeah, definitely a process, but it's a very fun thing to do. So definitely think anyone who's interested in that should start, but maybe start with online arbitrage or wholesale
yeah,
first to learn how Amazon works. Build up some capital because it isn't as cheap as they make it sound, like the gurus on the internet and stuff like that. So you have
yeah,
to be careful, vet who you're talking to, because it's not
yeah,
cheap. You can't just launch with $3,000-$4,000 on private label, but
yeah,
you can do that with online arbitrage or wholesale. So start
yeah,
there, build the capital, then go into private label.
yeah. Thank you so much, Joe.
Of course.
Take care.
Yep. Thanks.